To compare the difference between a quality tatami that we're supplying, the Hatashita tatami, versus a less expensive, inexpensive, actually, brand. We're not going to name any brands, but we're going to show you the differences right here. So I've got this one right here. And the first thing you'll notice is it pretty much looks the same as any other mat. But it's the comparisons end there. I mean, that's it. From a distance, it's green, it has a tatami surface, but it pretty much stops there. So the first thing is, when I pick this up, it weighs almost nothing. I can pick it up at arm's length, straight ahead, and lift it up. So I've got a little scale here, and I'm just gonna weigh it so you can see the difference between the mats we're supplying and a less expensive mat. So as you can see, this scale it's around 15 pounds, 14.9 pounds. This is a 1 meter by 2 meter mat, the same size as our mats, or the traditional size, or the most common size, and you're at basically 15 pounds. So here is our mat, and as you can see, I can't even lift it up at arm's length. It's that heavy. So we're going to put it on the scale, and we are topping out at a 44.1, 44.5 pounds. So you're talking 3 times the weight of a less expensive brand. Now, is weight everything? Yeah, weight is. The lighter mat is not going to absorb as much. It's not going to be firm enough. It'll be too soft and squishy. You can compare this tatami to the mat you would have used in grade school, pulling off the walls to do your tumbling. It's that sort of foam that's inside. Now we're going to take it apart, and you can take a look at it. But I just first wanted to show you the weight difference. So this is a compound of high quality foam. It's recycled, but a high quality foam. This is not a recycled foam, and it's a very light, porous foam, very inexpensive. So as I bring it up here, you can see how light it is again. I'm going to put it on the table, and again, it pretty much looks like any traditional tatami mat. There's a slight difference in texture. It doesn't have quite the definition of quality tatami on the surface, but you will notice, and hopefully the camera can pick this up, is that there's a giant bubble here on this mat. Now, this mat has never even been used. It's brand new, and it's already bubbling. So imagine if you're working out on this 365 days a year. You've got judo on Thursdays, you got aikido on Tuesdays, and you got karate on Saturdays. And this mat right out of the box is bubbling. So the adhering from between the vinyl and the foam is basically pathetic. It's horrible. So you've got this lifting, and if you see it, you can see it bubbling there, and that'll just spread. You can try cutting it and filling it with epoxy or gluing it, but it's basically a done deal. And if you also look, and hopefully the camera can pick this up, is that on the corners are crumpling. Because of the mat is so soft, and again, the adhering of the vinyl to the foam is so poor, you've got the corners that are crumbling. So that'll be just a mess trying to set this up in your dojo. So this is an example of a poor mat, and then what we're going to do next, we're going to cut it open, and you can see what happens in the inside and see the difference close up on this mat. It's kind of sacrilegious to ruin a tatami. It pains me to ruin any tatami, no matter what it is, but we're gonna slice it open, and you can see the difference between a quality tatami and a cheap tatami. So before I cut the mat up, I'm going to measure it just to show how there will possibly sometimes there's difference in sizes of the mat. And it's not a big deal lying, if you're just having one mat lie here. It could become an issue if you're stacking them up and laying down many. But let's take a measure here. So width-wise, this is not bad. You're at 1 meter. Now, one thing is, and I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but the edges are not straight. They're a very rounded edge, which isn't a big deal in and of itself, except that it doesn't butt up very closely to the next mat beside it, which then becomes a problem. You could, again, an opportunity for toes or fingers to get caught in there. And again, but it doesn't look nice, and it does trap dirt, given that the edges are rounded. Now we'll look at the length. Now the length, we're just under 2 meters. We're about actually a half a centimeter under 2 meters. Now half a centimeter isn't bad, but if you're laying 5 in a row, 10 in a row, that's bad. 10 in a row, that equals 5 centimeters you're going to be out. And that's 5 centimeters worth of gaps that you're going to have to cover up somehow. It's a big deal if you're laying a big surface. So again, with a inexpensive brand, these are the challenges that you're going to have to face. How are you going to fill in 5 centimeters of gaps between your mats? It's kind of difficult. You can try shoving foam in them, or padding one end, or jocking the entire area like a puzzle piece, putting the long ones beside the short ones, but it really does become a hassle, and it's not a long-term solution. So that's interesting to know before we cut it up, to know that the measurements, it's not a standardized size when you go for it with a less expensive mat. Okay, so I'm going to cut into this mat. I've never cut into a mat like this before, especially what is really a brand new mat, even though it's a sampling of how bad a mat can be. But we're going to try cutting into it and see what it looks like in the inside now that we showed the weight and the texture and other things. But let's give it a cut and see if how easy it is to cut into this. I'm going to cut right into the bubble here just to see what's inside. Okay, well, first of all, it cuts like butter. So that is amazing. That is amazing. So I'm going to cut in here. On the back does have rubber, so it's a little bit more difficult to cut through the back, but not a lot. There we go. Okay, so what we have here, and as you can see, they've glued this vinyl to the foam, and the glue has completely come apart. Now, if you've got a Hatashita Dax mat, you won't find that. It's not, you cut into one of these, and it's adhered. No matter, I bet you, if I can probably just cut through this, like this, and it's going to stay. It's stuck on there, no matter. And you can feel that it's much harder to cut through this. The density of this compared to this is night and day, and that illustrated by the weight of it, 15 pounds versus 45, three times the weight. So if you look in here, it looks to be some kind of inexpensive foam, and with the vinyl attached to it. And again, I think the biggest thing here is that it's glued. You cannot glue a mat to the foam. It will never stick. This comes off like this. So that is not working. It's not heat bonded. I think they've just slapped some glue on, and hopefully, it's probably not even tested. If this is a brand new mat and I can see the bubbles on it, obviously it's not, it's not up to snuff. Now this is probably the worst case scenario of inexpensive mat, but as you can see, at a glance, they look like any other mat. And this is our challenge as a supplier of a quality product, to be able to illustrate to people that you want to buy quality. You don't know what's inside. You don't know how it's going to perform. It looks the same, but it just may not perform as well as a quality product. And lean on us. You can ask us questions. We know the answers to most everything. We've been doing it for a long time. But if we don't, we're going to find out the answers for you. So isn't that interesting? Horrible to cut into a mat. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. It's probably just going in the garbage. But it's interesting for me and hopefully for you to see the difference between, a good mat and a poor mat. And nothing to be said about performance. I don't even know how to perform as far as longevity, as far as working out on, whether it's absorbent or not. It's a little more difficult to tell. We can have impact tests with such a thing, but we're not set up for that. But you can see just by visually that these are really not up to snuff. And it's fun for us to explore this and to understand what is the difference between quality and essentially junk.